Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, America. Good morning, world. And good morning, Oz. Good morning, Amos.
Good morning.
And good morning to our viewers. And as usual, I'd like to start the show, asking everyone here on the panel, how are you doing? I would like to start with Amos. How are you doing in New Jersey?
Well, surviving. Numbers here are not climbing as much as in the rest of the country, so that's one thing that keeps me positive, but that's about it.
All right. And Oz, how are you doing in Washington State?
Well, we are surviving. It's been a shit show this week because we're real close to Portland. A lot of our folks have been down in Portland. Pasta and Fiorella made it down there along with some of our other members, and they survived, but they still have gas masks or gas in their lungs and irritations. The federal agents busted out the windows of the Bernie van, and I don't know how much other damage the federal agents have perpetrated on these peaceful protesters.
Oh, wow, this sounds, thrilling. I don't know. We will talk about this a little bit later on the show because, I think we have to address this topic, what we're seeing in the streets, meanwhile in the USA. And if I think back a couple of years ago, I would never have thought this would ever be possible, not in the USA. I mean, normally we are used to see those pictures, from dictatorship or other regimes, authoritarian regimes, etc. Mostly South America style, etc. But this is absolutely crazy what we're seeing, and as I said, we will address it a little bit later. And I would like to address a little comment here on the chat at the beginning. Melissa H was asking, "Good morning, Germany. Do you think you can get NATO to invade the US and save us from our oppressive government, which is gassing and kidnapping its own citizens? Help." Well, let me quickly answer it. No, we can't, because NATO is mostly led by the US, and that's a problem with it, and I don't think that Germany would start an attack war, because it turned out that we are not as successful for this, as it would need to be, to say it like this. Anyway, let's go on and start with our first topic for today. As you're used to, we are going back in history, and we are looking at 1917 and about a very, very prominent picture of the figure of that time. And we're talking about Mata Hari, and who was sentenced to death today, and tomorrow she, in 1917, she was executed, or she would be executed. And it was a very interesting story around her. She was very high ranked. She did a very exotic dance style, and she danced mostly nearly nude, and she had contact to all the important figures of that time. It was the First World War, and she was very prominent and celebrated. And as it seems, the German government tried to get her services by offering her cash money for information, because she was on stages everywhere in Europe and above. And and it seems that also the British intelligence tried to get her services. So she seems to be a double agent or so. And anyway, once she was discovered, she was captured, and she was taken to France, and the French government sentenced her to death. And there are some rumors around that it was not the case, that she was a spy at all. It was a tragic circumstances that she knew all the prominent people of that time, and there was nothing behind it. And the whole scandal or the whole process was only, if you want, a false flag operation to take away the interest of the public from the heavy losses at the Western Front at that time. And so it was a very big spectacle at that time when she was executed, and the whole process itself. Is
she, hey Marcus, yes? Is she any relation to Trump's press secretary, Nazi Barbie, Kayleigh McEnany. Is she related to Mata Hari by any chance, or what?
I think we should start a research around this, and maybe we have results for the next show. But I don't think that's very likely.
Okay, I'm just checking because of what comes out of McEnany's pie hole. I kind of find, reluctantly like Mata Hari. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's all about Mata Hari for so far. And the next one we are talking about is there are developments around the student ban, and Amos has news around this. And please, Amos, go on.
So basically, New York, New Jersey, and I was very proud to be to have my alma mater also take a court case against ICE regarding their proclamation that they would be deporting students, international students that went to schools where there was no in-person classes. So once they realized they had no chance whatsoever, they took it off. They rolled it back, and that's good news.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. The next thing you want to talk about, Amos?
Yeah, we have the school issue, and everybody probably has heard by now that Trump and DeVos want to open the schools, force schools around the country to open in the fall, and now this is an issue. It's not that it's a bad idea to have schools resuming, because there's a knowledge gap that's or a skill gap that's developing because there's no school, and there is a consensus among education professionals that it is a problem that kids are not going to school. In addition, it's also holding parents at home and not allowing them the mobility. So it's the goal of the idea of kids going back to school is a positive one. However, the problem is, and here I listed all the pros and cons: avoidance of accumulating academic and social deficits, relief of working parents, relief of struggling low-income families who depend on school programs where they're getting lunch. That's important to a certain sector. And the cons are, of course, that you could get that could spread the COVID-19. It would be very expensive to open schools responsibly. In other words, if you took all the precautions, it would raise the price. And endangering the lives of children with a compromised immune system is also a huge issue. Now the problem, as I said, the problem is that the administration is trying to cause the schools to open, but they're not giving them any of the funding. In fact, DeVos has threatened schools that would not open to withdraw their funding. So it's just a completely wrong approach, and they're tossing all of the responsibility on the schools. They're saying the schools will figure out how to do this, and the schools are not set up to know what's the best thing. That's something that should be done in a very focused, science-based approach by experts. The issue is that they keep claiming that kids cannot contract it, or they're have much lower contraction rates and so forth. Israel thought so as well, and when they rushed to open the schools, especially initially the experts said open schools up to 9 years old. They did not. They opened everything because the Orthodox parties demanded that older kids that are going to yeshivas would be allowed to. So they opened the schools in general. They did not listen to the experts. And the first 2 weeks after that, there was a huge problem. There was a lot of students that contracted COVID in Gymnasia Herzliya, and in some other places. So the lessons were really not positive. So what can be done, however, is if you do spacing and social distancing in schools. And here the question is, there's still not enough detailed data about how that affects things. Masks, they know, definitely affect the transmission, but the distancing is not clear yet. And they are doing now a study, I believe I'm not sure if it was in Germany, somewhere in Europe, they're doing a study with a large hall where they're going to hold events. They're opening those anyway, and so they're going to do various scenarios of distancing and see how that affects things. And it may be that it's not going to be a huge factor, but it may well be that it is. But we need that data. Hybrid models. So in-person classes and online classes, and that's something that's New York's going to do. They're going to have 2 or 3 days in school, and then the rest at home, and maybe some of the class comes during the days that you have the in class, and so they're staggering the kids. And also there's a possibility of doing temporary closure for every COVID case. So if all of a sudden there is a COVID detected, they may have to close down. And outdoor learning is something that has not been explored very much. It's difficult to do in winter, but in summer, maybe that's something that they should consider.
Yeah. Well, I think the from my perspective, the biggest problem is in the US. Is what about those schools who don't have that much money? Those underprivileged schools, and we know from the past years, when there was a big teacher strike, that some of those teachers, had to buy pencils and papers and stuff for their own students, right? And how would those schools manage this? Because I have my doubts that it would be enough and not even possible to sit students there with a mask in their face for 5-6 hours a day, in a classroom from which we know that the aerosols also play a major role in the infection way. So I don't have the fantasy, to imagine how this would work if there is not a massive amount of money, to put in to make all this possible, because you would need in the schools also a lot of changes, and measures, which have to be installed, and I don't think that it would be possible, not in the school system, which we know from the US. For the rich schools and those who are supported, or charter schools, which are the favorite of Betsy DeVos, I think it's not that much of a problem, but for all the others, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. There's also one thing to mention is that there has been a study that kids 12 and under not only contract less COVID, but also don't transmit it as much. But for older kids, it is not such clear case, and it's probably isn't as great. So one thing I wanted to commend our governor, Governor Murphy in New Jersey. He's said something really important, and that's he's going to only allow schools that make sure that all of the students close the gap, the connectivity gap. So he wants laptops in the hands of every single student. There are right now like 90,000 New Jersey kids that cannot afford a computer, and he wants that closed before he allows any school to open. So he puts the focus on that, and that's, I think it's a good thing. That's a good use of the opportunity to expand that.
Can we explore a couple of things here real quick? Because I'm taking exception to the whole narrative here. Now, didn't they say this virus lives on surfaces for X amount of days, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, plastic, paper, metal? Now, I want to ask everyone here, are you willing to risk sending your child to school and have them by chance pick up some of that virus off of a surface or from another child, bring it back home, infect your household, and possibly to the point where you have the risk of a family member dying? Are you willing to? I'm not willing to do that. Today's technology dictates we have the ability to do online internet training. Now, here's the catch here. A lot of people who send their kids to school aren't buying into the mask situation, although there's a lot of evidence that it does help bring the curve down. They're not doing it. So those clowns are sending their possibly infected kids to the classroom to infect other kids and bring it back home. So it seems like a catch-22 situation to the extent of stupidity. So I know that we have to live with certain things these days, but why risk it, gentlemen? Why?
Well, you're absolutely right, and well, I only can see the situation thousands of miles away from you guys. From me, I think in Germany, the situation is presented a little bit different, than for you guys, because I know that our government would do a lot, to prevent anything of that happens. What is going on in the U.S., for example.
Do you trust your government? We don't trust our government.
I know, and I trust. In this case, I trust our government. Yes, I can say this. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it makes sense, and if I look at the numbers, because for us here in Germany, of course, we also have voices who are questioning, the use or the importance of wearing a mask, but we don't have a culture war around this, and for us, I think the numbers prove Germany and Europe right, if I look at the infection rates and especially at the death toll, and well, we mostly wear masks, and we try to avoid mostly, I think for the most Germans, we avoid the mass meetings of any kinds, and we are careful. And well, as long as the virus exists and as long as science is unsure about a final cure or a cure at all, and they are still learning how the virus behaves every day. I think it makes no sense to question science. I trust in science, and I trust that our politicians. I have no proof that anything is going wrong here. I don't have the impression, that our government takes a chance, to take over the public opinion or to take over the public. Or no, I think our government in this case did a good job. Yes.
But to be frank, the distrust or protest against masks is not a U.S. only phenomena. This week in London, I think there was some piece of news where a guy was walking around with nothing but a mask.
Yes, it was crazy.
I think you have a slide for that.
A crazy thought.
Yeah. I've got that. Yeah, I've got that slide here. Let me see if I can pop it in. Yeah. This is a good spot for that slide. Yeah, he was walking around with nothing but a mask. I don't. Are the ladies wearing similar masks or two masks?
I think they would need 3 masks.
They would need 3 masks. I would say 4 to cover the other side too. But anyway, no, that's pretty interesting that they do that. And I've heard that we have some thick-headed individuals in the UK as well too. Amos, I'm willing to work with the public, and I'll say again, I wear a mask to not only do whatever the scientists say it does as far far as protecting people around me and myself, but I do it to let everybody know as a signal. I'm just as concerned as you guys are, and I'm not going to take any chances with my health to your health, my children, in group situations. That's all I'm coming from, until they can get something definitive with all these tests that are going to take a long time, Amos. These big meetings and testing and litmus tests for the online transmission of this thing. I saw something the other day that said 6 feet is just an arbitrary number. It doesn't necessarily affect it. So I'm with you guys, but again, I'm going to err on the side of caution. Maybe I'll save some lives by doing that.
Yes, and I hope that our audience, our viewers, also stay on the safe side, because we are now in the middle of summer, and at the beginning of this pandemic, not only the orange people thought it would disappear in summer with climbing temperatures, it didn't, and as you know, it even got worse, and now look, fall is coming, winter is coming, right? We should be prepared.
It's going to get worse probably, but yeah, it is true that I've never seen the US in such state of paranoia. It's like almost pathological. There's all these crazy conspiracy theories that are being propagated, that it started, we heard stuff from QAnon that was like the Pizzagate and stuff like that. Now you hear it from all the corners. You can hear it from the left, from the right, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's people who believe that the entire corona thing was basically a ploy by the government to create a situation in which they could inject a vaccine, and the vaccine would have a chip that would be used for surveillance.
That's a great idea.
I mean, it would be for a sci-fi, but
oh my God,
we're close to any such technology to begin with, and people have taken things out of context and spliced them in, and it's just difficult to fight with that, because it's like, how do you dispel those notions where there's a chunk of people who just simply do not believe in the government, and they have a right not to, because of things that the government has done. But I don't know how you get out of this situation.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
I have no advice neither, because for me, as I said, it's a complete different perception, because I'm seeing what in Germany the government is doing, and I don't feel, we are not in the same situation to begin with, right? And I also can understand that people, have such a deep mistrust, but it's I think it says more about the American state of mind than about the virus itself or science itself. And this is the thing which is really worrying, because there is no sense in it. There is no logic in it anymore, in my opinion.
I agree with you to the point of the government doesn't need to manufacture a virus that's going to kill millions of people in order to put a chip in them. What I do disagree with is they have the technology. They've been chipping animals for years with very tiny chips under the skin. So that's the technology's there. But I agree with you. I think that
there's a difference in that and injecting it in a syringe, like into the bloodstream.
Yeah, maybe. But how do you know? How do you know? How do you know?
This was already tested a couple of years ago. I once saw a short clip, about a company, which did not have any cards, to enter the building anymore. They had chips in it, and they were completely happy to get a chip, because it makes life so much easier for them.
Yeah, and
that's
besides,
how those chips are going to make it into a general population by providing something that is of value. And then the side effect of it is that you can be tracked, but they don't need to cause.
They don't need to do all this. Yeah. You already have your.
Some people claim that the COVID is not even a virus; that it's 5G towers that are that are causing people to get sick, and people in Britain have been torching them down. So
Yeah, well, hey,
the chip thingy reminds me a little bit about the movie Logan's Run. If you
I
remember
love
this,
that movie.
where you have in the palm of your hand,
I love that movie.
exactly your lifespan,
Sure.
your life watch.
Yeah, yeah.
it makes for a great sci-fi. I agree.
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
I also disagree with Bram. I don't think this whole paranoia started with Russiagate. I think it preceded it much before that.
Yeah,
I think it's been used in different forms for the decades, ever since the Democratic Party did it.
Just sorry. Austin.
No, go ahead.
Can it be maybe that the paranoia started with 9/11, and got worse and worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, it's a trajectory. Yeah.
No, I think that was just a hot point in their paranoia, because Reagan actually started, when he took on the me generation, he basically divided the classes right there. You got to start taking care of yourself. When he threw all the mental patients out of on the street. So, you can go back. Even Carter did some things that weren't the best in the world, and Roosevelt did too. So, I mean, yeah, I think 9/11 was definitely switching on high. And when you put neoliberal corporate tools like Bill Clinton in office and Barack Obama, you're just going to keep doing that sort of thing. Lastly, we already carry the chip around in our smartphone. How many people do you know that don't have a smartphone?
Yep.
I know one. I know one person.
Good. There's one.
Yeah, there's one. Yes. All right. You got another story to tell us about. There's something happening in Botswana, Amos.
That is a very strange thing. It's a mystery. In Botswana, there's been a few hundred elephants that suddenly died. They started dragging their feet. They walked in circles, and then they fell down and died in their feces. And it was very disturbing, because nobody knew what was causing it, and people thought it could get out of control. Botswana is the third. They have a third of the remaining elephants. African elephants, and population of about 180,000. And if something hit them in great numbers, that would be a problem, because they're trying to conserve those majestic animals. At first, they thought maybe it was poachers, but most of the tasks were intact, and there were far too many elephants for them to be able to remove tasks from. So it's not likely, and it's over a pretty wide area, so it's not likely to be poachers unless something went completely wrong. They thought about water supplies being poisoned by maybe algae or something like that, because there was a drought before that, and after the drought there was a big rain, and they thought maybe that has to do with that. They have not been able to substantiate that at all. They thought maybe it is these bacteria it's a disease that attacks the brain, that they get from consuming rodent feces. And they do that because they pick up grasses, and the rodent feces is in the grass. They chomp down on it with the feces. That seems not to have been the case. They've sent some lab results and stuff like that. They've thought maybe it's a virus, but then this whole thing stopped while they were doing a survey. So it's not likely that the virus would just vanish all of a sudden, just like that. So still nobody really knows what happened, but those mass deaths are kind of become a reality of our 21st century life, and it's still disturbing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Yes. Do you have another story?
It's just a mention. Yeah, mention of Marilyn Cazares in 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. She lived in Brawley, California, and she's a transgendered woman. She got murdered in a house she squatted in, and they don't know who did it yet. They're investigating. The police has termed it homicide, and her parents are trying to make them change it to a hate crime. but so far they've not done so. She's the
Yeah.
23rd documented victim this year, which is a jump from previous years. And I think that the political climate has a lot to do with it, unfortunately.
That's tragic, yeah, and yeah, this should not happen, you know. And yeah, is it? You said it's not clear who it was, but is it confirmed it was a hate crime?
It was confirmed that it was a murder, a gruesome murder, but I don't know. It's likely to be a hate crime. She wasn't involved in anything. They don't think that it was anything criminal.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Well, tragic, you know, and yeah, no. If you look around, you know, everything is tragic, you know, and as I said before, you know, when we met today before the show, I said, or in the show, you know, that those pictures we are witnessing from the U.S. I never imagined in my life this would be possible, you know, that SR-like troops, you know, are in the streets, you know, and kidnapping people, pulling them from the streets, you know, in unmarked vehicles, and yeah, they're just taken away, and this is something which I never have thought would be possible, not in America, you know, where First Amendment rights, you know, were always, you know, in my opinion, untouchable, you know, and you know, it leaves me really speechless, you know, and so I did not prepare a lot for this segment, because what can we say, you know, if we are looking, and if Urs can show us the clip, please, what is happening around there, you know, and that they don't stop, you know, even with the representatives of the city, like the mayor Ted Wheeler, you know. We don't have to discuss in how far he's the right person at the scene, you know, because he also tear gassed his own public a couple of days before. But you can see there, you know, there is absolutely no authority for those people who should have the authority in this moment, and it leaves me, you know, helpless and speechless for a good part, you know. And if you can run it, please, Austin.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Very disturbing. Yep.
It is absolutely disturbing, and there was another video in these days where there was a woman demonstrating, holding a sign in her hands, and those thugs rushed to her, and they put her away, and just like it's like nothing, and it's absolutely crazy, and it reminds me, of a lot of our German history, and we also had the same scenes, the same situations. I think the good aspect, as Oz is showing it here, is there is now a very cool alliance, if I want to say it like this, the Wall of Moms, even though thugs, have moms, right? And if they are doing the same they are doing to normal protesters, I think those women, those mothers are brave, and it is appreciated what they are doing, and I hope they don't get hurt, in their actions.
They gassed the mothers too. They gassed the mothers and the fathers last night.
Oz will tell us about his experiences there. Yes, stop violence. This is this something which has to do with terroristic attacks? Is there a monument near which is under attack? This is just a woman which is peacefully demonstrating, and it is crazy. And if he is Ted Wheeler. He's experienced with tear gas, as we learned from the short clip. He got his own medicine somehow. In a very cynical way. And if you look back, this is my country. This is Berlin, 1929. There you can see the police is operating there against the far left, against the communists. There were street fights in Berlin, big street fights. The police at that time was supported by the SR, the Schutzabteilung, which was a kind of stormtroop for Adolf Hitler, which mostly were, thugs, who like to beat up people, and this is a group photo, and it is so similar what in Germany happened, what we are seeing now in the US, and the question I have to us and to Amos, we know that that Trump is pushing for the cultural war, and the question is how to react to this provocation from him, because we know an aggressive way of reacting this in an aggressive way would even fuel the fire in Trump. He would even react harder. Doing nothing is absolutely also no solution. But what would be the smartest way to react to this? I'm asking you. I have no ideas around this.
Let's hear what Donald Trump's position is real quick. It's about 10 seconds.
Okay.
Defending all of it.
And we've stood up to that, and this president has stood up to that. But let me tell you about Portland. You have 100 brave DHS officers standing up against that lawless mob. They should be celebrated. They should be celebrated as heroes. A number of them have been injured.
Okay, that's Stephen Moore, who is in Trump's cabinet, his right-hand Nazi, per se. So that's
Miller.
there. Yeah.
Stephen Miller, yeah.
Miller, sorry, Stephen Miller. I get more confused. He's the economic slobbering idiot that wants to promote tax cuts and tax credits for everything.
And you're absolutely right, Oz. Isn't it strange, that exactly this figure, all among who are fired, in the 3.5 years, this guy is still in the office. You hardly see him, He's like a little worm, a little snake in the background. But I think he has the venom, He's putting the venom in Trump, and I think that everything is going according Steve Miller's plan.
By the way, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a striking resemblance between him and
Goebbels.
Joseph
Goebbels.
If you look at their pictures.
Yeah, they are. It's stunning, the resemblance between them.
Yes, yeah. cannot deny it.
I wish I had a shot of the Goebbels for you.
I don't know how his right foot is looking, but there are similarities.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I would like to ask Oz, because he has something to share about what was going on in Portland. His own experiences.
Well, it's a number of things. I guess more what I have to share is how we cannot let this sit. I mean, Wheeler was out there making a very limp and weak speech just now. He was talking about in that clip about how we must. He's the mayor of Portland. Him and Kate Brown should not be saying we must do shit. They should be calling for the feds, those federal marshals, to be out of the state immediately. They were slow in the first place. They should say, get out of my state, end of story. Not we must do something, but get the hell out. This is not your jurisdiction, and I don't care what the National Defense Authorization Act that Obama signed into power means. It's still using forces from the sitting administration against the people of the country. So ethically, get the hell out of the goddamn state. And they were talking that Miller was talking about sending 100 of these agents in there to quell some outlandish protesters who are spraying graffiti and, for the most part, being very, non-aggressive, just being there. Moms, dads, teachers, nurses. Are you kidding me? And they're bringing heavily militarized federal agents in, arbitrarily taking people and throwing them in the back of unmarked vehicles to go to nowhere. Where are they taking them? Guantanamo Bay? Are you kidding me? Everybody that's watching this and everybody in Portland and around the country should be going to Portland, should be going to their local jurisdictions and doing the same damn thing those people in Portland are doing. Because this is an attack on our constitutional rights, our freedom of speech, and everything else. And this is exactly how you shown the Nazis started here in these pictures, Marcus. We cannot let this stand. We cannot let this stand. So I digress. I need to go into my segment here about why. Now, we are preemptively surrendering to the Democratic Party. Vote blue no matter who. Oh, we got to get Joe Biden out. I submit to you both, and I'm open to conversation. How did Trump become Trump? Who put him and gave him the powers to do what he is doing now, sending federal agents? Barack Obama, okay? Bill Clinton. Those two positioned Trump to be in this. They all thought that Hillary Clinton was going to be in charge. But even more so, think about it. Why are they setting up all these presidential powers for Barack Obama or any president in the future? Why are they doing that? So I don't say but Trump. I say but all of them. So what do you guys think about that? And I'm open to pushback. Come on, gentlemen.
All right. Do you want to start or shall I, Amos?
Go ahead.
All right, okay. Well, as I said 2 weeks ago, when I suggested, that if I could vote, I would vote for Joe Biden. I said that, there's two reasons. Reason one is the coronavirus and the dealing with the coronavirus. The question is, what price you want to pay. With Trump, you will end up in a dictatorship. We'll have masses of corona deaths. Not to talk about maybe other deaths, and this is the only hope I have, that Joe Biden does better than Trump. Full stop. Because I don't have any more hope in Joe Biden. Because I know all the shit Oz is talking about is not solved with Joe Biden. And by God, not with Kamala Harris, who is turning more and more out to be his VIP pick. As I said 2 weeks ago, one last fucking time, vote for the lesser evil, get Trump out of it, and then leave the Democratic Party. And damn it, try to build something up, a third party. So we need to find a candidate, a third party way, because the Democratic Party proved it 2 times. It is enough, to get slapped in the face 2 times. We don't need a third time. We should draw the consequences and say, okay, last time, that's it, and then bye-bye. That's my take on it, because I don't expect anything to come out of Joe Biden which would be helpful, and we are already too late for a change, in my opinion. But well, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, no solution, so bye-bye.
Almost.
Yeah, no, I think most of the, let's say if Bernie was elected and next thing he would be president, do you think that all of the issues would have been resolved? Of course not, because there's Republicans in Congress, they would still block him. There's corporate Democrats in Congress. You have to change the entire system to get to where we need to go. And the fact that we've lost that battle with the presidency, okay, we still have to fight the rest of the battles, mostly on the local level. And we've seen some recent elections that actually did that. There've been progressives fighting established Democrats and won or almost won. And I think that needs to continue. I don't think we stand any chance if we vote for a third party that does not have a chance in these elections. I think we're abdicating. We're basically endangering our very own freedoms in a very real way, and I'm not willing to do that.
What freedoms are you talking about? And the problem, and to come back what you said before, the problem is with the almost winning. If you never have a chance, if everything is rigged against you, you will never win, and the Democratic Party has set the tables that they don't give a chance, because they just don't want it. That's the system of the party, that they don't want it. And I don't see any, from my perspective, I don't see any chance that it would be changed in the near future. And I think the big game changer in comparison to the decades before is the coronavirus. And wait, what's going up next month? Not next month, end of this month, Do you know how many millions of people? There was an estimation. The first wave would concern, I think, 15 or 20 million people who are thrown out of the streets. Don't you think this would be a game changer for a third party, maybe?
It might well be, and I think I would agree with you. It's important to try and create a viable third party. We can't do that before the elections, and if
not before.
Right, but if we do support a third party that's basically giving away votes to Trump, and I personally think that a lot of our freedoms are going to be squashed, the way he's been chipping at our democracy all along. So I think that's just going to get much worse.
I think you're both wrong,
and I'm just not willing to take that chance.
I think you're both wrong. I think you're both wrong. I think you're both wrong in the sense of we don't have two parties now. If we have a party, it would be the second party. There is no two parties. The Democrats and the Republicans, they just gave him $50 bazillion more dollars to DHS to come in and pull this shit with Portland. I want to ask you all, where the hell is Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer on these attacks on our citizenry? This is an assault on the people of the United States. This election doesn't mean shit, because I would rather vote for a turd than these two motherfuckers. They're both working for the same team, okay? You guys vote how you want. I'll vote against Trump, sure. But I tell you something. If Joe Biden can't even come out and support the goddamn protesters in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and if we can't get Nancy Pelosi and the squad to come out and support the protesters in Portland, Oregon, or Chuck Schumer, who's in bed with another country as far as being their delegate to our Congress, then nothing's going to happen. This election, fine. Vote for your down ballot progressives. But what the Movement for the People's Party is doing this weekend is going to the representatives' house. They're going to Schumer's house, Nancy's house, Steny Hoyer's. They're taking it to their house, and they're telling them, God damn it, you guys better do something, because they could have shut this shit down a long time ago. They are not working for you. Period. They are no damn good. So it's going to take a revolution. A peaceful revolution, I advocate always. But we're doing a peaceful resolution while they're shooting people in the head with bullets that are maiming them, while they're gassing moms and teachers and nurses. Are you fucking kidding me? Wake up, world. This is a fascist fucking government whose accomplice is the goddamn Democratic Party. And until you get that through your fucking head, nothing's going to be done. It's been rigged from the get-go. Barack Obama dropped the hammer on Bernie Sanders and everybody. We turn around, Bernie Sanders was overwhelmed. He bent the knee. Now he's stumping for a fucking senile piece of shit, Joe Biden? Are you kidding me? Biden's going to give everybody the finger. Task force my ass. Sorry, but I'm done with these fuckers. Period.
Do you have anything to say to John Kasich?
Oh, my God in heaven. Don't get me started, gentlemen. John Kasich, at the Dem convention, we have one party in this country. We need a second party, and we need a revolution. We need hundreds of thousands of people in the streets, overwhelmingly.
Well, yeah. What can I say? You know, it's in most cases you're exactly presenting how I see it. You know, I don't expect anything good coming from Joe Biden, except that he would not be a hardcore dictator like Trump would turn out. You know, and that's it. You know, and I hope that he would have the corona crisis under control.
Let's let me run my calmer clips so you guys can hear. Now, everybody likes Pramila Jayapal, okay? I liked the fact that she introduced the Medicare for All. But let's hear what they talked about with our friend Jimmy. And I don't care if you like Jimmy or not. Prove him wrong here. So let's take a listen, guys.
All right.
We'll just run a couple of minutes here. This is facts.
All right.
Tell me about your meeting with Representative Pramila Jayapal.
So we said we were going to Representative Jayapal's house. She is, of course, the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. That's right. It has about 95 members inside the House. And we met with her after she learned that we were coming to her house. And I should say that when I say we are a coalition of organizations that's come together to do these actions, including Move to Amend, the Income Movement, Humanity Forward, which is Andrew Yang's organization that he officially established after his campaign, and that's focusing on a basic income, the Humanity First Movement, United Left, some Our Revolution chapters like Our Revolution Los Angeles and Our Revolution Central Connecticut. And so a number of organizations that are on board pushing for this. And we held a meeting with her yesterday where she said, I agree with the demands, but I'm effectively so burned after my experience in trying to push something for the HEROES Act, trying to push for something more progressive, that I'm not going to take a stand this time. That was our demand. Our demand was, Congresswoman Jayapal, you are the co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Whip your caucus. Get the squad together. Actually come together and take a stand. Because you know what's happening? What's happening now is that corporations want something again.
Yes.
It's the only reason we're back discussing another stimulus is because corporations want their exemption, from coronavirus lawsuits. Okay, so Wall Street wants something again, so now we're back at the table. But guess what that means? Is that we have leverage. We can deny them that. That's what the Democrats are theoretically supposed to do. That's what the progressives are theoretically supposed to do. They're supposed to say, no, you want these exemptions, you want any form of bailout, you want any form of help, you want more PPP, more paycheck protection money that's going to go to big business instead of small business. Well, guess what? You got to come to the table on Medicare for All, a basic income, defunding the police, rent and mortgage relief. You got to cover payroll.
Yeah. Why is all the other countries have their Medicare for all? Why do they all have UBI in this time of pandemic crisis? What the hell's going on? We got a $1,200 check for crumbles. I'm sorry, Schultze. I am mad. I'm pissed. I'm done with this shit. And people need to step up and speak their minds. So what do you guys think?
Amos?
I agree with that. I just think it's very unfortunate that we have the power balance in Congress that we do right now, and it's very difficult to move in this. It's like moving through mud, and until the ratios change, it's going to be like that. Unfortunately,
yeah.
We need more progressives, either through a third party, inside parties, whatever it takes. But just we need to have more force in there, and I'm kind of optimistic into the more distant future, not into the next 4-8 years, but more going forwards, because the newer generation it seems understands these points, understands what's going on, and understands corruption. And I think they'll create a shift, whether they want it or not, whether the establishment wants it or not. Marcus?
Yes. Well, I only can say that the corporations and the big buck guys, the billionaires, they don't give a fuck, who is running the country under them.
Now, I hear you, gentlemen. And again, I just want to finish off with a little bit of this clip. It's just 2 minutes, and then I will shut up. But, Marcus, tell us real quick, what do you get during this time of pandemic as far as stimulus and healthcare and everything in Germany?
So, normally you would get a kind of help, we had for 3 months in Germany, it was also not allowed to set people on the streets, but if you lost your job, you of course you get your unemployment money, and if your working place had to give you so-called Kurzarbeit, I think this term is also known meanwhile in America, the difference would be paid by the government, and that you would have that you could lead more or less a normal life with about what you earned before. Of course, there are branches which are still shut down, and those problems are struggling, of course. But I think in Germany, well, it is not comparable to what's going on in the US.
Now, this is a shit.
Nobody has to die in the streets.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're to that point. Let me run this through, and then I'll finish. Thank you, gentlemen, for being patient with my outburst.
No, absolutely.
We are 1 day away, Jimmy. 1 day from the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures expiring. It didn't cover everyone from the beginning. It only covered federally backed properties. And so most rental units were not covered in the first place. But guess what? The ones that were are going to expire tomorrow, Saturday, the 25th. And you know what else is starting to expire then? The $600 additional in unemployment insurance, which was a horrific choice because in our country, we decided to prioritize, let's put everyone on unemployment rather than let's keep everyone on the payroll. Let's keep everyone at their job like Europe did. And so Europe, everybody's kept their job. There's no massive unemployment. There's no like a small business apocalypse. Like here in the United States, they turned this pandemic into a depression. They did it. It was their policy. It was not the pandemic that caused the economic situation. It was their response, and it passed unanimously.
So what they did in Europe was they didn't say everybody go on unemployment and all the businesses closed down, and then let's give the richest people in the country $5 trillion to go buy those businesses. What they did in Europe was they just gave all the businesses money to keep paying their workers until they lifted the coronavirus restrictions, and then everybody went back to work. They didn't have to go reapply for their job and get off unemployment and get this and fill out and go through human resource. They just went right back to work. And so they never had a spike in unemployment. I mean, I think Germany's the highest it got was 6%.
Less than 1% increase. Denmark, Germany, Ireland.
Yes, there was a way to do this. It wasn't a secret, and I know it wasn't a secret because I knew about it at this show in real time as it was happening. Me, a guy in his fucking garage on YouTube, I knew about it. So you know Nancy Pelosi knew about it. You know Bernie Sanders knew about it. You know AOC and Representative Pramila Jayapal knew about it. And what did they do? They voted for the screwing of America, the biggest wealth transfer upward in the history of humankind. They did that because they are cowards to a person, and they don't work for you. They work for themselves first, Nancy Pelosi second, and then maybe you.
And thus you have it. We need to vote all incumbents out, put all populist progressives in. To hell with them. The long game ain't going to work, guys, because the planet is burning up. It is on fire. We're getting cooked, and that's my position. I'm in line with not Jimmy Dore. I'm in line with all the groups that want to join together and stop this madness. That's where I'm at. So thank you, gentlemen.
No, you're absolutely right. And if I may add, I think this the whole problem is it's a two-level problem. You know, we have on the other hand we have the necessity, you know, to act quickly, very quickly. But on the other hand, you know, we have the political process. You know, we have Washington D.C. We have all those little fights, all those little stuff, you know, which happens on a daily basis, and you have to compromise, you have to do this and that, and this is how politics worked, you know, for decades. And here I'm absolutely with Oz, you know, that's the problem, you know. Those progressives like AOC, the Squad, Bernie Sanders, you know, I think they're in these old, they are connected with this old kind of politics, maybe, you know, that they think, you know, we can only move with little steps, you know, we got to compromise here and there, and we are moving slowly forward. But the problem is we don't have the time for it anymore. And I can see, you know, that the people are getting, the progressive people are getting more and more impatient about that nothing visible is happening, you know, and that's the problem, you know, and I don't know how to solve this. We would need to have direct help, not only what the coronavirus concerns, even more what climate change concerns, you know. And there we are in the middle of our next segment already, because things are getting worse, and they are going worse quickly, more quickly than we thought, you know. If you look at Antarctica, you know, if you can see show the slides, what's going on there, it is deeply worrying. 2 weeks ago, we talked about what's going on in Siberia, that they have 38 degrees Celsius, you know, which is absolutely ridiculous for this part of the world, you know. And now we got the next one, you know, the next news coming from The Guardian, and I can read it out quickly. The first active leak of methane from the seafloor in Antarctica has been revealed by scientists. The researchers also found microbes that normally consume the potent greenhouse gas before it reaches the atmosphere had only arrived in small numbers after 5 years, allowing the gas to escape. Vast quantities of the methane are thought to be stored under the seafloor around Antarctica. The gas could start to leak as the climate crisis warms the oceans, a prospect the researchers said was incredibly concerning. The reason for the emergency of the new seep remains a mystery, but it is probably not global heating, as the Ross Sea, where it was found, has yet to warm significantly. The research has also significance for climate models, which currently do not account for a delay in the microbial consumption of escaping methane. You know, and it goes on and on. If you go through slides, the delay is the most important finding, said Andrew Thurber from Oregon State University, who led the research. It is not good news. It took more than 5 years for the microbes to begin to show up, and even then there was still methane rapidly escaping from the seafloor. The release of the methane from frozen underwater stores or permafrost regions is one of the key tipping points that scientists are concerned about, which occur when a particular impact of global heating becomes unstoppable. The methane cycle is absolutely something that we as a society need to be concerned about. I find it incredibly concerning. you know. And there is also Professor Gemma Waltham from University from Bristol in the UK. We think that there is likely significant methane beneath the ice sheet. The biggest question is, how large is the lag compared with the speed at which new leaks of methane might potentially form in the wake of retracting ice, you know? And if you know that, you know, we have to consider this. We have to consider the methane which is covered under the permafrost in Siberia, and having all this in the atmosphere, we don't have to think about progressive politics anymore.
No, we're screwed unless we do something about it. We can't wait for all these corporatists to do their carbon capture and all this other crap. Something has to be done. So let's get rid of them. Get some people in there that are going to work for the people and not for profit.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, that's easier said than done.
Yeah, it's going to take a revolution. It's not going to be done at the ballot box. I firmly believe that. And if, you know, when we're all dead, we can discuss it, Thomas and Marcus, but this isn't working. It hasn't worked since Bill Clinton sold the Democratic Party into the Republican Party.
Where are we meeting? Valhalla?
Valhalla is fine by me. Why not?
Right. Okay. And by the way, thank you, Dan McCartney, for the $20. Thank you very much. Great.
Oh yeah, thanks, Dan, and we miss you guys. The die's been off all week. I'm taking a walkabout down in Australia, so I haven't been able to do this.
Yeah, we are at the end of the show, nearly at the end. You know, we have a good news, you know, and for this we have to go to Washington D.C. to the Congress, and we can talk about the Democratic progressives. Whatever, you know, I think in this case, it was a class act, in my opinion, what AOC did with the senator or Congress member Yoho, you know, and it was you know, she had the right weapon, you know, to beat this guy up, you know. It was not only, as we know, that he referred to her as a fucking bitch, you know. It was his non-apology, you know, which was not acceptable for AOC, and I love the speech, and I think it was an important speech for the women in general, you know, in a man's world. And I would like to give you a shorter version of the speech. It is 4 minutes 24, not the complete pack, but I think all the important things are in this clip, and I think it's important, and I would like to watch it with you.
About 2 days ago, I was walking up the steps of the Capitol when Representative Yoho suddenly turned a corner, and he was accompanied by Representative Roger Williams, and accosted me on the steps right here in front of our nation's Capitol. I was minding my own business, walking up the steps, and Representative Yoho put his finger in my face. He called me disgusting. He called me crazy. He called me out of my mind. And he called me dangerous. And then he took a few more steps, and after I had recognized his comments as rude, he walked away and said, "I'm rude. You're calling me rude." I took a few steps ahead, and I walked inside and cast my vote, because my constituents send me here each and every day to fight for them. I walked back out, and there were reporters in the front of the Capitol, and in front of reporters, Representative Yoho called me, and I quote, "a f***ing bitch." These are the words that Representative Yoho levied against a congresswoman, the congresswoman that not only represents New York's 14th congressional district, but every congresswoman and every woman in this country, because all of us have had to deal with this in some form, some way, some shape, at some point in our lives. But then yesterday, Representative Yoho decided to come to the floor of the House of Representatives and make excuses for his behavior. And that I could not let go. I could not allow my nieces, I could not allow the little girls that I go home to. I could not allow victims of verbal abuse and worse to see that, to see that excuse, and to see our Congress accept it as legitimate and accept it as an apology. Mr. Yoho mentioned that he has a wife and 2 daughters. I am 2 years younger than Mr. Yoho's youngest daughter. I am someone's daughter too. My father, thankfully, is not alive to see how Mr. Yoho treated his daughter. My mother got to see Mr. Yoho's disrespect on the floor of this house towards me on television. And I am here because I have to show my parents that I am their daughter and that they did not raise me to accept abuse from men. In using that language in front of the press, he gave permission to use that language against his wife, his daughters, women in his community. And I am here to stand up to say that is not acceptable. Having a daughter does not make a man decent. Having a wife does not make a decent man. Treating people with dignity and respect makes a decent man. And when a decent man messes up, as we all are bound to do, he tries his best and does apologize. Not to save face, not to win a vote. He apologizes genuinely to repair and acknowledge the harm done so that we can all move on.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for...
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely fantastic in my opinion, and she was exactly not what people with when they're talking badly about women, they are complaining, they are whining, they are bitching around, it was exactly not. She was clear to the point. She nailed it. She did not get emotional. She just presented the facts, and she presented the facts, that Mr. Yoho should still feel his ass beaten right now, And well, guys, do you have anything to add?
I think that was an important thing, and also she tweeted later, just like Jilly said, she tweeted, "Bitches get things done." So
I think she did this after the incident, after she got aware of the incident, and not after the speech she gave. But I'm not sure about it. Maybe Jilly's right. But anyway, it doesn't change anything. But the stupidest thing you can imagine was Mr. Yoho appeared on TV again. He was at Fox News, and now he was completely whining. He was whining about that AOC is now making profit out of the situation, and that she is getting money out of this, because I think a lot of women donated to her after this speech. The only person I saw whining and crying, was this Mr. Yoho guy. And, she completely destroyed this guy. And honestly, I love her for doing this. And this is great, because, I would my girlfriend to react in the same way. If I had a daughter, I would her to react the same way, and I think everyone who has daughters should be proud on a woman speaking out.
I agree, Marcus. Can you hear? Oh, shit. All right, can you hear me now, Marcus? Can you guys?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, am I clear? Oh, you know what? Absolutely. I agree with what she did, handling herself in Congress like that. What's unfortunate is people aren't paying as much attention to what's happening in Portland as they are paying attention to this bullshit going on with Yo-Yo, who is a complete coward, a meat sack, and the despicable posturing in his so-called apology made me want to just go up there and grab him by the scruff of the neck, Sonny, and say, that's not how you apologize to in public. You're an asshole, and you just have made it worse for yourself. He should resign. That's the level of it is. We can't have that going on. It's not like Oz throwing up all over your show. She responded correctly and decisively, and he looks like the biggest dumbass on the face of the planet now. But again, we have huge fish to fry. We got people losing their homes, losing their jobs. And what I have to say to all this, guess what happens? Keep putting people under bridges, because they're joining our team and they are going to overthrow these assholes in Congress that are just paying lip service and smoking mirrors to everything. We're done. The election process, fine, but we're not going to take it anymore. We're mad as hell.
Yep. Yes. Agreed so far. Yes. Well, guys, after this show, which great discussion I think that we had.
Marcus, if I may, one thing before.
Oh, please. Sorry. I let you
I
also.
just wanted to say something, and you may disagree, but Trump has said recently that the numbers of coronavirus, the sick with coronavirus, is greater because of the testing. I think he's right. I think if we had more IQ tests, we'd have more idiots.
Yes, assumably, I think, yes.
What if this is all a big game? Here's a conspiracy theory. What if the Democrats did this all on purpose to solidify their position in government for the next 8 to 16 years by putting such an idiot, a fascist, Mussolini, ignorant reality TV show guy? What if that's a conspiracy theory for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and thanks to Al and
yes.
Oh yeah, thanks to everybody. Money's falling out of the sky. Oh my God, look at that! I feel like I'm on a 30-second segment of the Jimmy Dore Show with all the money falling out of the sky. Thank you, Jilly. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Den. I mean, Jesus, this is great. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, and thanks to all who are watching us and who are sharing their morning with us, and you're great guys. Talking about great, a couple of days ago at night, me and my girlfriend were zapping through YouTube. We are listening to soul music, and there I saw a guy was standing on a table in a concert, at a Tiny Desk concert, and it turned out to be a guy called St. Paul, and I was curious. I didn't know it, and we clicked on it, and boy, what a discovery, and what a shame that I didn't know that this guy existed, because wow, you will hear him. He's from Birmingham, Alabama, and I will not say much, because you will I think you will be delighted about him, and you will enjoy it. That's all I want to say so far. I want to thank Oz for being with us. I want to thank Amos. I want to thank all our viewers for watching. And before we go out, Oz, do you have anything announced for next week? Is there anything coming up?
I'm still on walkabout this week. Shanda's out for the week, so I think I'm just going to work on some housekeeping. I would love to jump on with anybody who's free. Just email me at Roar Media Live. We've got the Randy Credico interview tomorrow night at 7:30 on Uphill Media. That's by one of our partners, Live on the Fly with Randy Credico. This is our first one, so if you can do that tomorrow evening, Pacific time. And then we'll see what happens this week, what goes on. It's going to be a hell of a week again. Last week was horrible, and next week I hope it doesn't become more horrible. But if something needs to be out there, I'll jump on. If somebody wants to come on, just let let me know, and we'll fire up the old studio. Thank you very much. And no joke next Saturday, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And thanks again for Human Love, Solidarity, Vegematic, for the donations. You are absolutely great, guys. I love you. And we are going out with, I know it's not midnight, but it's midnight. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Mama told son, it won't go away. That old heart, it won't stop the rain. Oh, please try, Paul.
Amazing.